Welcome to today's story of love, life, and betrayal. For more free stories and entertainment from our channel, please hit the like button and don't forget to subscribe with notifications. Now, let's dive into The Sister I Never Knew, a story that proves sometimes the enemy has been sleeping in the bed next to yours all along. Isabella Romano stood in the ruins of her office, glass crunching under her designer heels as she surveyed the devastation. The windows of her consulting firm had been shattered, her files scattered across the floor like confetti, and spray painted across the wall in red letters were the words, "Thief, liar, you deserve this." 3 months ago, she'd been on top of the world. At 35, Isabella owned one of the most successful business consulting firms in Dallas. She'd built her reputation on trust, integrity, and an uncanny ability to spot problems before they destroyed companies. Now that reputation lay in tatters. 3 major clients had terminated their contracts after receiving anonymous tips about Isabella's alleged financial misconduct. Her business bank accounts had been frozen pending an investigation. And yesterday, someone had destroyed her office. Isabella pulled out her phone and dialed the number she'd been avoiding for weeks. "Bella," her sister Sophia's voice was warm and concerned. "I've been so worried about you. Are you okay?" "No, I'm not okay," Isabella said. "Someone destroyed my office last night. Everything's gone, Sophie. I'm coming over right now. Don't touch anything. We need to call the police." 20 minutes later, Sophia Romano burst through the door. At 32, she was 3 years younger than Isabella, but had always been the more dramatic of the 2 sisters. Where Isabella was measured and analytical, Sophia was passionate and emotional. "This is horrible," Sophia said, picking her way through the debris. "Who would do this to you?" "I don't know," Isabella admitted. "But Sophie, I think someone's been targeting me for months. The client complaints, the investigation, the rumors, it's all too coordinated to be coincidence." Sophia's dark eyes flashed with anger. "We'll figure this out, I promise. You know I've got your back, always." Isabella felt a surge of gratitude for her sister. After their parents had moved to Florida when Isabella was 22 and Sophia was 19, they'd only had each other in Dallas. Isabella had postponed her own dreams to help Sophia through college, working 2 jobs and taking night classes to get her own degree. As they called the police and documented the damage, Isabella noticed something odd. Sophia seemed to know exactly where everything was supposed to be, despite rarely visiting the office. When the detective asked about missing items, Sophia was quick to point out several expensive pieces of equipment. "How did you know about the laptop?" Isabella asked after the police left. "What laptop?" Sophia looked confused. "You told the detective that my backup laptop was missing from the safe, but I never told you I kept one there." Sophia laughed nervously. "Oh, you must have mentioned it sometime. You know how you are about backups." Isabella nodded, but something nagged at her. She was paranoid about data, but she'd never told anyone about that laptop. That night, Isabella couldn't sleep. At 3 a.m., she drove to her office. As she sorted through the debris, Isabella found something that made her blood run cold: a photograph of herself and Sophia as children. But Isabella's face had been scratched out with a pen. On the back, in handwriting she didn't recognize, were the words, "She took everything from me. Now, it's my turn." Her phone rang. "Isabella Romano?" The voice was unfamiliar, elderly, and shaky. "Yes?" "My name is Elena Rodriguez. I was your parents' housekeeper before they moved to Florida. I think we need to talk." Isabella's heart stopped. Elena had worked for the Romano family for 20 years before disappearing shortly after her parents relocated. "Elena, where are you? I've been trying to find you for years." "I've been hiding," Elena said simply, "but I can't stay quiet anymore. Not after what I've seen on the news about your business troubles. There are things you need to know about your sister." "What about Sophia?" "Not over the phone. Meet me tomorrow at the old church on Esperanza Street." Come alone, and don't tell Sophia you're coming." The next morning, Isabella drove to the small Catholic church where her mother had taken them every Sunday. Elena was waiting in the last pew, barely recognizable, thin and frail, her hair completely white. "Isabella," Elena whispered as Isabella sat beside her. "You look so much like your mother." "Elena, what's going on? Why did you disappear? And what did you mean about Sophia?" Elena opened her purse and pulled out a manila envelope. "Your parents didn't just move to Florida, Isabella. Sophia drove them away." The words hit Isabella like a physical blow. "That's impossible. Sophia was devastated when they left." "She was supposed to be," Elena agreed, "but I saw what really happened. I saw her threatening your father in his study." Elena pulled out a photograph. A picture of Sophia standing in the Romano family's backyard, holding documents and looking furious. Your parents had been so happy, but suddenly they were packing up and moving with barely any explanation. Isabella stared at the photograph. But why? Why would Sophia want them gone? Because she found out the truth about her adoption. Elena's eyes filled with tears. "Sophia isn't your biological sister. Your parents adopted her when she was 3 years old, after her birth mother abandoned her. They never told either of you because they wanted you to grow up as real sisters." Isabella felt the world tilting. "But we look so similar." The adoption agency specialized in matching children with families who looked like them. Your parents specifically requested a child who could pass for your biological sister. Elena pulled out adoption papers and a birth certificate showing Sophia's original name, Maria Clark. "Sophia found these papers in your father's safe the week before they moved," Elena continued. "She confronted them, demanded to know why they'd lied to her. And she forced them to leave for that? She forced them to leave because of what else she found." Elena's voice dropped to a whisper. "Their will, showing that everything would go to you, the house, the business, the money, all of it. Sophia would get nothing." Elena pulled out the final item, a letter in Sophia's handwriting. "They lied to me my whole life, made me believe I belonged, that I was equal to precious Isabella. But when it comes down to it, blood matters more than love. They're giving everything to her and leaving me with nothing. Well, if I can't have what's mine by right, then I'll take it another way. Isabella has gotten everything handed to her. Time for her to know what it feels like to lose everything, just like I did." Isabella read the letter 3 times. "She's been planning this for 13 years? Everything that's happened to you, your business troubles, the investigation, the break-in, it's all been her." Isabella thought about all the times Sophia had been there to comfort her, the sister who'd held her while she cried about losing clients, the sister who knew exactly what was missing from her safe. "She's been playing me this whole time," Isabella whispered. "Be very careful," Elena replied. "Whatever you do, don't let her know that you know the truth." That evening, Isabella sat across from Sophia at dinner, trying to act normal. "You seem distracted," Sophia observed. "Are you still worried about the business? Do you ever think about Mum and Dad? About why they really moved to Florida so suddenly?" Isabella asked carefully. For just a moment, Sophia's mask slipped. Isabella caught a flash of something cold before the concerned expression returned. "Of course I think about them, but you know how Dad was about his health. Do you ever wonder what would have happened if they'd stayed, if we'd all kept working together?" Sophia's laugh was sharp. "Oh, Bella, you know the business was always going to be yours. I was never really part of those plans." "That's not true." "Isn't it?" Sophia stood up abruptly. "Tell me, when they transferred the business to you, did they even ask if I might want to be involved?" Isabella stared at her sister, seeing cracks in the facade. "Sophie, if you felt left out, why didn't you ever say anything?" "Because what would have been the point?" Sophia's voice was bitter. "You were the real daughter. I was just the charity case they took in." The words hung in the air, and Isabella realized Sophia knew about the adoption, had always known. "I should go," Isabella said quickly. At home, Isabella pulled out her laptop and began checking her email history. What she found made her blood run cold. Someone had been accessing her account regularly from an IP address near Sophia's apartment. She called her IT consultant. Within minutes, he confirmed her worst fears. Sophisticated spyware had been monitoring everything for months. Her emails, calendar, even document drafts. "There's something else," he continued. "Someone's been using your credentials to send emails you never wrote, fake communications to clients, fraudulent transactions to vendors." Isabella thought about Sophia's computer science degree, the one Isabella had helped pay for. Her phone rang. Sophia's name appeared on the screen. "Bella, I just heard from someone at your bank. Suspicious activity on your accounts. They're freezing everything pending investigation." Isabella's heart pounded. Sophia was warning her about the very theft she'd been committing. "How did you hear about this before I did?" "I was having coffee with Maria Rodriguez from First National. She mentioned it." Isabella knew Maria Rodriguez had left the bank 2 years ago. Sophia was covering her tracks. As Isabella hung up the phone, she felt a wave of nausea wash over her. The sister who had just called to warn her about suspicious bank activity was the same person who had been stealing from those accounts for months. The twisted irony wasn't lost on her. Sophia was playing the role of concerned family member while simultaneously being the architect of Isabella's destruction. It was psychological warfare at its most intimate level, and Isabella had been the unwitting target for over a decade. Walking through her apartment, Isabella began to see everything differently. The family photos on her mantel now felt like evidence of a massive deception. Every vacation they'd taken together, every birthday celebration, every holiday dinner. Had Sophia been planning her next move during those moments? Isabella remembered last Christmas, when Sophia had insisted on helping her organize her home office, claiming she wanted to understand Isabella's work better. Now Isabella realized her sister had probably been memorizing passwords, noting security measures, and mapping out her digital life for future exploitation. The most chilling realization was how perfectly Sophia had played her role. She'd never shown jealousy or resentment openly, never given Isabella any reason to suspect her motives. Instead, she'd cultivated the image of the supportive younger sister who was content to live in Isabella's shadow. It was the perfect cover for someone planning a long-term campaign of destruction. Sophia had weaponized Isabella's love and trust, turning every act of sisterly kindness into an opportunity to gather intelligence for her revenge. The next morning, Isabella called Detective Ray Carson, a friend from law school. "Ray, I need help. Someone close to me has been committing identity theft and embezzlement." "How close?" "Family close." Isabella felt her hands shake as she spoke the words aloud for the first time. Admitting that Sophia, the sister who had been her closest confidant for over a decade, was systematically destroying her life, felt like betraying everything she'd believed about family loyalty. But as she sat in the police station conference room, surrounded by printouts of fraudulent transactions and email logs, Isabella realized that loyalty had been a one-way street. While she'd been protecting and supporting Sophia, her sister had been weaponizing that trust against her. The hardest part wasn't just the financial crimes or even the business sabotage. It was realizing that every shared moment, every sisterly conversation, every tear Sophia had wiped away had been part of an elaborate performance. Isabella thought about all the times she'd confided her fears and insecurities to Sophia, not knowing she was providing her enemy with ammunition. The intimate knowledge of Isabella's vulnerabilities had been Sophia's greatest weapon, and Isabella had handed it to her willingly, wrapped in the naive belief that blood made them allies. Within hours, Isabella was at the police station with all her evidence. The investigation that followed revealed the stunning scope of Sophia's revenge. Years of sabotage, financial theft, and psychological manipulation designed to destroy Isabella's life piece by piece. 6 months later, Isabella stood in the courtroom as the judge sentenced Sophia to 10 years for identity theft, embezzlement, and fraud. The evidence had been overwhelming. Not just financial crimes, but systematic sabotage spanning over a decade. Sophia never looked at Isabella during sentencing. She sat defiant, accepting punishment without apology. Elena Rodriguez had testified, finally free to tell the truth. She revealed that Sophia had convinced their parents that Isabella was plotting against them, that she'd hired investigators and planned to have them committed. The parents had fled not by choice, but driven away by Sophia's lies. Isabella's parents returned to Dallas for the trial. The reunion was tearful and joyful. They were building a new relationship based on truth instead of lies. Isabella rebuilt her business with new security measures and started a support group for victims of family financial abuse. The healing was slow but real. As she walked out of the courthouse, Isabella felt a strange completion. The sister she'd loved had never really existed, just a carefully constructed persona hiding a predator. But the love Isabella had felt was real, even if misdirected. She'd learned that family isn't always about blood or shared history. Sometimes it's about the people who stand by you when the worst truths come to light. The enemy had been sleeping in the bed next to her all along. But now that enemy was gone, and Isabella was finally free. Thanks for listening to today's story of love, life, and betrayal. For more free stories and entertainment from our channel, please hit the like button and don't forget to subscribe with notifications.